Hi, guys. Welcome to Chemo Glow, where the glow doesn't define me, I define the glow. Thank you for joining us tonight for our live event. Please check us out on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Please share, follow, and subscribe. Also, check us out where podcasts are available. Guys, please like us. Please subscribe. Please watch. A lot of people give me a lot of comments after the podcast has aired, and they'll text me, they'll call me. Do me a favor, drop that line on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Let people know how you feel about our lives, about our podcast. So you can check us out where all podcasts are available. We are still working on some things in season 2. You guys know that we are joining up and teaming up with the American Cancer Society, making strides against breast cancer. Chemo Glow has their own team. My goal is to make strides against this nasty disease, breast cancer. If you're interested in telling your story or sharing your glow, just check us out at chemoglowgmail@gmail.com. I'm sorry, I don't know why I'm a little nervous. Probably because my daughter came in right when we were practicing the intro and I nailed it with all the interruptions. But I am so excited too about my guest tonight, Jill Berry. She is an advocate in her community. She was on podcast 14, Trust His Faith. And Jill is making a mark in the breast cancer community, helping women navigate and be advocates of their care. I want to welcome Jill Berry to our show. Hey Jill, how
Hi,
you doing?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
I'm good. Did I tell you I was going to jinx us? Because I say how great everything was going
You
behind the
did.
scenes.
You did.
It never fails. You look great.
Thank you. Thank you. You as well.
Oh well, thank you, thank you. We can look great together on this episode. How was your day today? You were
It was,
working.
yeah, it was a busy day. It was a very busy day, but the warm weather just kind of picked up the mood in the office. So it was nice.
Oh, well, tell us where you work at.
I work for Cone Health. I work for the Light program at Cone Health,
Okay,
which is in Greensboro. It's Cone Health Cancer Center in
okay.
Greensboro.
And what do you do there?
I am the program assistant, and basically, what I do is I assist newly diagnosed breast cancer patients with different resources. My job is basically to keep these resources in place and up to date.
Okay. Keeping the resource. How important is that? The resources while you're going through cancer.
Yeah,
In your podcast, you discussed about not utilizing the resources during the time.
yeah,
And I discussed how much I tried to use all of them, right? So
yes.
tell us a little bit about your journey before cancer came into your life.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm originally from Cambridge, Massachusetts, and I went to Bennett College.
Hmm.
I left Bennett and went into the military. Met and married my husband while we were serving over in the Gulf War. I have two children, Alexandria, who is 27, and Isaiah, who just turned 26 on Monday.
Oh, wow.
But Isaiah drives trucks, long haul trucks. Alex, as you know, is in graduate school at Harvard. I
Yes.
was saying that.
And you should.
And been married, it'll be 30 years in April.
Hmm.
And my husband is a minister, a pastor of the neighborhood church, which is an online church.
And he's been on our show twice so far, and he's also joining you in the podcast.
Correct. Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Well,
Yep. Yep.
I'm just so happy to have you here. If you notice on the podcast, I only have your picture on there, not you and your husband's, simply because it's Women's History Month.
Right.
And I want to dedicate it. And last month, all we did was men, all
Right.
men, and it was great.
It
But
was.
now it's time to celebrate us. And you're making history. You are doing things in your community. Your face was on bus stops, billboards, buses going by, because you at one time was the face of one of the campaigns. Can you tell us
Um,
about that?
yeah, I was face of Susan G. Komen face of breast cancer in 2013 and 15. And basically, what I did was I represented the local Susan G. Komen office at different events, different publications. And alongside with that, I was also pretty much doing the same thing with a light. Um, yeah. And for when I first started getting involved in all this, I was in a lot of the cancer centers um, literature. So, yeah. Yeah, my
Well,
face used to be everywhere. Now it's me.
it did. It used to be everywhere. And I
Yeah.
met you because your face was everywhere. But before we discuss how we met,
hmm
tell us a little bit about your diagnosis, how you were diagnosing your treatment.
So we had just moved here from Boston in July of 2008. My husband had just retired from the Army, and we had been here 6 months, and I found a lump. And after that, everything kind of that bowl just started rolling down that hill so quickly. I did 18 months of chemotherapy. A year of that was Herceptin. I did 6 weeks of daily radiation treatments. I had a radical right side mastectomy. And then 2 years later, I decided to do reconstruction.
Okay.
And I was on tamoxifen for 10 years. I just got off of it a couple of months ago.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes. How are you feeling?
I know I'm nervous because I
Uh
felt
huh.
like that was my safety net, to be honest.
Okay.
Yeah, I really felt like that was my safety net. I was not in a hurry to get off of it, but I had some other medical things going on, and that the tamoxifen was masking, and so
Mm-hmm.
the doctor just said it's time, and it was time. 10 years is the max recommendation, and yeah, so it was my time.
It was your time. Isn't it crazy how you feel when the safety net is gone from all the appointments? When you have to go, can you imagine all those months you're in treatment,
hmm
actively in treatment? And then all
hmm
of a sudden they were like, we'll see you in 3 months. We'll see you in 6 months. We'll see you in
Yes,
a year.
yes,
And
yes,
it's
yes.
crazy because we're like, no, I want to see now,
hmm
like right now.
hmm
So that really does affect your behavior.
And what's funny is that now I work right underneath my oncologist's office. His office is right above mine. So every single day, if I have an issue, I can go straight up there to him. He will bring me in a room and sit down and chat. And I've had to call on him a couple of times because of just some things that kind of scared me. And but yeah, I mean, honestly, it's really a blessing to be able to do that and be in that same building with him.
Yes. So being in that same building and going through treatment, was your treatment as a vet? Because you're a vet,
hmm
Army, right?
Right, Army, yeah, U.S. Army.
So how was that as far as your treatment, being a veteran in the military, going to receive treatment? How did that go for you?
Well, when I went through treatment, I was out of the military, but I still had, because my husband had retired, we had the military insurance TRICARE. And I was just shocked to find out that the local cancer center didn't even take TRICARE. And I'm like, there are a million retirees in this city, and I know many of them are coming here. Like, how, why is this not a, what is it, in
And
network?
network.
Yeah, and my oncologist, Dr. Magranat, he just he said, you know what, these people served because they were waiting to bring me in for treatment and
Mm-hmm.
get the insurance thing taken care of. He came out, grabbed Anthony out. He was like, "You guys need to find out what's going on with this. Take care of it. They've served their country. We're going to do treatment." And he came back after he got me all set up. He came back and they got it all situated. And he said now TRICARE is Cone Health is in network for TRICARE.
Wow,
Yeah,
that is so great.
yeah,
Think about the people who don't have the same doctor who comes out and says, hey, they're going to receive this right now.
yeah.
Because some people, on top of, the diagnosis of cancer, I have to worry whether or not I'm going to receive treatment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
That really does, you have to advocate for your care. And if you
yeah.
don't know, you need to know. And that's why the resources are there.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So
Yeah.
going through treatment, after treatment, what were some of the side effects?
The main side effects I suffered were physical, my from the reconstruction,
Mm-hmm.
not the reconstruction, but actually from the mastectomy. Um, a lot of nerve damage, pain. I wasn't pleased with my reconstruction.
Mm-hmm.
It's very lopsided. I still every day deal with that up until
Mm-hmm.
today. Matter of fact, that's why I did the reconstruction was because every time I got out the shower, there's a huge mirror right in front of me, and then
Mm-hmm.
you have like one breast and then a flat wall.
Yep.
And that started kind of messing with my mind, and so I said, well, I'm because I wasn't going to do the reconstruction because I was just tired of getting poked and prodded on and cut on. You know
Mm-hmm.
how it is when you go through breast cancer; it is a whole lot of cutting up.
Yes.
And then I understood that I saw my body and I was like, I want to kind of get back to some sort of normalcy.
Mm-hmm.
But what happened was, and they were even when she first did it, but I gained 30 pounds and like 5 of it went to my left breast, which is my regular breast. And so it like blew up. And now I need to, I have like an A cup and a D cup. So
Yeah.
I
Well,
know TMI, but
no, I understand that. I went more than a little over 2 years when I was thinking about reconstruction because
Mhm,
people don't understand you're going through treatment, you had the
mhm,
side effects from treatment, you're going through ongoing treatment. Just because your hair grows back does not mean that you're in a good place.
mhm.
And I used to take a shower with the lights off
Wow.
because our mirror was wall to wall.
Mhm,
So I took a shower with the lights off because I thought I looked like Edward Scissorhands. There was
mhm.
so much going on from infections, from the surgery that I was not happy with. I went in a second time because my first time when I went into surgery, I had an infection. I ended up in the hospital.
Wow.
Ended up in the ICU for
Mhm,
this infection. There was
mhm,
so much going on, but I also made the decision. I said, before we plan a family and, have kids, I want to have two. I want to have two boobs up here. That
mhm.
way, I can feel some
Yeah,
type of,
some sense of normalcy.
yeah, I want to be me.
Yeah.
And now my girls always say, "Oh, mommy, you have a boo boo." And I said, "No, that's mommy's lifeline where my port was."
Oh, yeah.
So
Mhm,
they're always asking, "Well, mommy, why is this?
mhm,
Why is that?"
mhm,
I want them to know. I want them to know about breast health.
mhm.
It's so important. You have a
Yes.
daughter, so I'm
Yeah,
pretty sure
yeah.
that you
I
are
s I ask
stressing.
her I still ask her to this day, "You doing yourself breast exams?"
Hmm.
I just every once in a while, I'll just pop that question up, and she said, "Yes, mommy. Yes, I am."
And that's how you found your cancer, by
Uh,
doing.
yeah, that literally, that is how I found it. I found it myself because I felt a lump, and, yeah, and it was cancer.
Yes. So after going through treatment, after the bumps in the roads, because they do happen,
Mhm.
what are some of the things that you wanted to dive in, and why? Why were you so interested in
So
showing your glow?
this is what happened. I felt like from the moment I walked into the door at the cancer center, because I was being treated. My treatment had, or my diagnosis had happened in Winston, and I wasn't happy with who I was seeing. So
Hmm.
my cousin told me, and mind you, now we'd only been here 6 months.
Hmm.
But my cousin told me, she said, there's a cancer center right here in Greensboro. And that's how I ended up there. And I walked in the door, and I'll never forget, it was a British guy who was sitting at the desk. And I just walked in and I said, I have breast cancer and I want to be treated here. And 10 minutes later, I met Tammy Knutson, who was the nurse navigator. She gave me all this stuff. And I have my file, my paperwork with me. She went
Hmm.
over it. She talked about what the diagnosis was. Because even after 2 weeks of being seen in Winston, I still didn't know what my diagnosis was. I didn't know like what kind of cancer it was, what stage it was,
Hmm.
nothing. And then I met Dr. Magranat right after that. But the thing was, everybody, I'm talking from the guy at the door, his name was Roger, to the nurse navigator, the people who checked me in, the registration, the people who, administered the chemotherapy. Everybody was so just so kind and loving, and earnestly, they really, really were. And I just wanted to give back. I was like, I wonder if I can volunteer here. I'm sitting there towards the end of the chemo, and I'm like, I wonder if I can volunteer here. What, like I'm looking around, because really I was supposed to be getting a job when I got the diagnosis of breast cancer.
Mm-hmm.
I was, we discussed it, and Anthony let me stay home for 6 months to decorate the new house and everything. And then, January, I was supposed to be getting a job, and instead I got breast cancer. So,
Yeah.
I said, let me start off by volunteering. And I volunteered for, I don't know, maybe 6 months. And I was volunteering in the breast center. And the other thing too is, I did have a lot of issues with going back into the cancer center. There was a certain smell there that just kind of would tighten up your throat, and just,
Mm-hmm.
that I can't explain what it was, but I'm sure you understand.
Yes.
They actually had redid the whole cancer center, and it looks so different from when I went in.
Mm-hmm.
And so because of that, it was a new place for me that
Yeah.
held something special in my heart. And I became what is it? Reach to Recovery with American Cancer Society.
Mm-hmm.
And Melissa Vogelsinger, the executive director of Alight at that time, she's the one who recruited me to be a what did I just call it? Chemo brain. Chemo brain. What did I just say with
That's
American
another
Cancer
thing.
Society? Yeah. My family will tell you about that, honey.
And I want to discuss that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she recruited me to be a mentor
Mm-hmm.
with the American Cancer Society. And then I ended up, they basically created a position for me in the Alight office. And that was 8 years ago, almost 9 years ago. And I've been there ever since. Started out just kind of as a volunteer, and
Mm-hmm.
then it turned into a paid position. And now we are, at that time, we were the Alight Foundation, founded by Mary Jones in 2006, who was
Mm-hmm.
just a kind and generous woman, who is a very kind and generous woman, that saw that, was looking around, going through breast cancer, and she was just asking herself the question, the women who don't have the resources that I have, how are they doing this? How are they getting through this? And
Mm-hmm.
that she created the Alight Foundation, and it is a very strong, powerful organization. And she ended up, after so many years, turning the organization over to Cone Health, because we had been housed there for so many years.
Mm-hmm.
And so now I became an actual employee of the hospital as opposed to the foundation, which came with a few perks.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been, I think we've been part of that organization for 4 years now. And yeah, it's been, I mean, my job has evolved. It really has changed a lot there, but the basic, I still have that basic. I do a lot of graphic design, which I love. I
Well,
do a lot of stuff on the
you
computer.
used to do that for a living at one point.
Yeah, I did. I had a small business on the side, and I still do it occasionally, a little, matter of fact, before I got on, I was upstairs working on a logo thing for my brother-in-law, I do it for family and close friends,
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, that it turned into a position, and I've been there for several years, and I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I just, I tell you, I'm not there for the money, obviously. I'm there for the mission.
Well, they
It's all about
say
the
that
mission.
you're positive, you're devoted to the community, you're an advocate. You help so many people when they're scared.
Oh,
You are a great face to survivorship. And Regina also agrees to that, that yes, you are all those things.
thank you.
And I met you because you were with the Sister Network at that
Yep.
time.
Yep.
So what were you doing over at the Sisters Network?
I was actually in Texas, representing our local chapter, Greensboro chapter of Sisters Network, which is the only national African American breast cancer. It's not a support group, but organization
Mm-hmm.
that believes in getting the word about early detection and
Mm-hmm.
research.
Yes.
And they also do provide financial assistance for breast cancer patients as well. But I was there at their leadership conference. And, at the end of the leadership conference, which is a week long, they have the walk. And that's where you and I met the night before the walk, because I went with the president and vice president of our chapter. An emergency came up and they both had to leave. So I was there. Yeah, I was there. And your chapter actually kind of rallied around me,
Yeah.
and welcomed me in. And that's how I met, so many of, you wonderful ladies from that chapter. We had a great, great, great time. And
We did.
I mean, like, look at right here, Regina, and I try not to choke up when I say it, but I have to say, to see you from where you came from, girl, because you were in the middle of treatment. And I just remember you talking about wanting to save your eggs. And
yep.
Girl, to see you now.
Wow. I could barely walk.
Yep. We had to keep stopping. Yep.
You had to keep stopping. I meant to pull some of those pictures from mile 1 to mile this. I sent them to you.
Yes, we did save those. We did.
We saved those
we
pictures.
took pictures at each milestone.
Every milestone. And I was walking so slow. And my family from Texas was there. Talanya, y'all just kept walking with me. And I felt like a burden. And sometimes when you're going through cancer and people have to wait on you, you feel like it's a burden, but y'all didn't. I mean, we were just pushing right
Girl,
on
we were having
through.
fun talking, chatting,
we did.
Getting to know each other, talking to the other people around us.
Exactly. I cannot remember how many hours it took us, but you guys got me through until the end. And that's how I met you. And that's how we have this friendship.
Right. Yeah.
We have this wonderful friendship because of the Sisters Network.
Yes.
And I've seen that they're going to be celebrating 25 years. And people need to know that they actually paid for my flight. They paid for me to go. I didn't go just once. I went twice. So when I was better, I went back.
Did you?
Yes.
Oh, I just got chills.
So that was so amazing.
I know that was powerful.
So, oh my goodness. It was so amazing, so powerful. And you guys really helped me through that. So I really do appreciate it. You never know where you're going to meet people.
Right.
And in my time,
where that's going to go.
Yeah. And because of that, I also wanted to volunteer. I wanted to do things because I was thinking about if the people didn't have, like, how your husband is so amazing. He helps you through. He's still cutting fruit for you in the morning.
Yep.
So still writing your love letters every morning, seeing how you're doing. But how many people don't have that person who sits beside them, take those notes and push them forward or advocate for their care?
Right.
So they're calling on you when you're in the community, when you're outside of your community. I know you get those same phone calls I get.
Oh, yeah.
Hey,
Yep.
my friend was diagnosed with breast cancer. She doesn't want to talk about it. Where can we send her? And what can we do? And being a veteran, knowing, where TRICARE is, where if they're in network or out of network, or asking those questions, it's so important.
Yeah. It really is.
Let's talk about this chemo brain. People don't understand.
My family now, they do. They get it and they know it's for real. At first I was like, oh God, Jill, I'll never forget my sisters. For my mom, for her birthday, we try and really do, special stuff. And so one year they, this was a few years ago, they were like, we're going to go to New York and, take mom to go see a play. I was like, oh, I really can't go. Da, da, da. And then I saw pictures of them and I was like, you guys went to New York and didn't ask me to come with you. They were like, Jill, we had this conversation. I was like, are you sure? They were like, yes, we had it. You said you couldn't go right at this time. And I was like, all right, I'm going to give you guys that one. But yeah, I mean, it's that stuff all the time. But the hardest part is at work, when it happens at work, because I get so self-conscious. Before I actually started working, while I was still volunteering at the cancer center, I was working for this other nonprofit, and I was messing up so much. I got fired, basically. She didn't just say you're fired. She brought somebody else in and said, you sit over there and let her sit in your seat. I kind of got the picture after a day or two. I was like, oh, okay. But I knew
Wow.
what it was. I knew what it was from. I was fresh off of the table.
Hmm.
I knew what it was. But being in the cancer center is how it's, they know,
Yeah.
there's no question about it. They know. They
They
know.
they understand. I
They
had someone use
totally.
it against me. Well, tried to use it against me.
Mm-hmm.
They said that I didn't send something out, and I did, and I
Mm-hmm.
sent the email, but their response was, "Well, Regina, it must be that chemo brain." I was so upset, but I went and I clicked and I sent it to them, and I said some choice words,
Mm-hmm.
because at
But
that
you
time
put
I
it
was their
was
supervisor, and I was like, but the fact that they used that and
right,
thought it was okay,
right,
yeah, that really
right,
bothered me because
right,
you have to work really hard to connect the dots to
right,
keep things going. And sometimes it just comes out of nowhere.
right.
But it is a real thing. Well, James and Tasha Dawkins asked, how can you get involved with the Sister Network? Not just the Sister Network, but all around. You go on their website. They're always looking for volunteers. What would be your suggestion?
Just that. Go on the go to their website, find out where your local chapter is,
Mm-hmm.
and get involved. Get involved.
Yes.
That's I mean, my dream is like we are going to eventually move back to Boston, and there's not a chapter in Boston.
Mm-hmm.
And my dream is to start a chapter in Boston, and hopefully, someone will have started one before then.
Mm-hmm.
Something. But yeah, that's always been in the back of my mind.
And the Sister Network has actually started a young survivor network as well, which I was happy to see because at the time I was only 36.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yep.
was only 36 at the time.
Yep.
And everywhere I went, even though the Sister Network it got me in touch with Talanya,
Mm-hmm.
who was also a young survivor, I needed something a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
And I talked to the person who used to be over there. Oh, she was amazing. Talked to her, and she was trying to get it started. And now I see that they actually do have one.
Awesome.
Yeah. So there you go, guys. Look at that, Sister Network Inc.org. You
Mm-hmm.
can definitely volunteer. They have a chapter here in the Raleigh Durham area. I used to be a part of.
Mm-hmm.
Even with American Cancer Society, Making Strides Against Breast Cancer, there's so many organizations out there that you can volunteer your time, your
Mm-hmm.
effort, and we have to fundraise, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Volunteering is great, but let's get some fundraising going on as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, what are you doing now?
Well, I'm still with Alight.
Mm-hmm.
Now we were Alight Foundation. We are now Alight program at Clone Health.
Okay.
And I'm still doing the same thing. I'm working with the patient. It's very minimal. I don't see a lot of patients. One came in today, and I was so happy to see, and talk to one.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a long time since I've actually had some real contact where one's come in for something from me that's needed something from me directly. And girl, I was just pulling stuff out the closet. Here, you can here's some goodies, and we talked for like a half hour. But I'm still doing that. I'm still pushing out we have when someone is newly diagnosed at our cancer center, they get this bag, and in it is a journey binder. And in
Mm-hmm.
that journey binder is it's full of information of all local resources. So different doctors, locally, like oncologists, radiation oncologists, surgeons, plastic surgeons, transportation, information on transportation, financial assistance, different programs for your kids, Kids Pass,
Mm-hmm.
information on legal assistance. And I also am in charge of our volunteers, which has kind of been put on hold. We have about 70 trained Alight guides, which, they come in for a couple hours of training to get
Mm-hmm.
certified and to become Alight guides. And what a Alight guide is, it's a peer mentor who, when someone first comes in with their diagnosis, a chaplain will go in and talk with them, as well as or a social worker. And at the end of the conversation, they'll be asked, would they like to speak with the survivor? And what we do is we match them up with somebody who's going to have the same diagnosis treatment plan, mainly
Mm-hmm.
treatment And that's the key thing, because people want to know, what's it going to be like for me when I'm going through treatment. That's they just want to know that, like, what's this going to be like? What am I going to feel like? How am
Mm-hmm.
I going to be during this? And but we also match them by age, which is very critical. We're getting a
It's so
lot of
important.
young women in, and age. Those are the main things: is age and diagnosis, treatment plan.
So you'll have different support groups as well that they can attend.
Yes, we have support groups. Our support groups are virtual, and they are very well attended.
Really?
Yes, we very well. At one point, we were discussing having a second one, because you don't want so many people. It's different when you're in a room together,
Mm-hmm.
but it's harder when you're on Zoom and somebody wants to talk. It's always been, the platform's really good. The lady that runs it, the facilitator, Laura Herring, she's awesome. She knows just the questions asked. She knows how to pinpoint people. But she will never put you on the spot. You never have to feel like you have to talk. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and that was the other thing that we miss being in person, is when the new people come in, it's guaranteed they're going to cry, because first of all, they're glad they're amongst somebody who understands, somebody
Yes.
who
Yes.
understands, what they're going through. And just kind of a sigh of relief for them to say, I can now ask the questions that maybe I couldn't ask my oncologist, because, they're doing the medical thing. They have so much time to, get their information into you. But now there are some personal things that I want to ask, and I want to find out about. And this is the forum for that. And, we miss being able to, hand them a tissue, wrap our arm around them, pull them
It's
aside
so
after,
important.
and just kind of, touch base, with them and see. And I mean, I've developed so many friendships through that.
And like you said, when you seen me, I didn't look like this.
No,
Not at all. Like I
no.
was one toe into the other side, right?
Yeah.
And being able to see other women
Mhm.
who were just slightly ahead of me. Because
Mhm.
you're celebrating what, 12 years?
12 years.
12 years, right? So you were already, I could see it and I can see it in other women, but
Mhm.
I didn't look like this.
Right.
Um, and what's crazy also, because I lived in a different city in Charlotte, and all my family friends are in Charlotte or in the Fayetteville area, they didn't see me at my worst times
Yeah.
because I didn't go down there. I didn't show up. So they didn't see those things that other people, when I went to support groups, when I seen them, they didn't get to see that.
Yeah.
So I have to just say, Anthony M. Berry says, this is an awesome interview.
Who's that fella?
Who is that? He has been so great on these lives.
He loves it. He loves it.
Him and the other guys stayed on
Yeah.
afterwards. And I was like, okay,
Yeah.
guys, I need you to get your numbers.
Yeah.
Sounds like we're
Yeah.
going to be doing a workshop, but
He
it's
just got
time
his
to
book
go.
today. His book just came in the mail. His journal, the book that the guy was.
Did
Yeah.
it?
Yeah. His came in the
See,
mail today.
they're
He was
really
so impressed.
connecting.
He's so
I'm
impressed.
I'm so happy that they're connecting as
Yeah.
men
Yes.
on this live, on this podcast, on this show,
Yep.
because it's so important.
Mm-hmm.
So, History Month, women,
Mm-hmm.
how important is it to you?
Honestly, I've been so busy that it didn't dawn on me. In matter of fact, the first day of actual Women's History Day was my son's birthday on Monday. And I had so much going on. It's kind of,
Yeah.
I just responded to a text where someone sent me, Happy Women's History Month. Like she said it 3 days ago. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. But, I mean, first of all, it is our time.
Mm.
It is our time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the men are finally seeing that it's our time. We've known it's been our time, but I think they finally see that, these women, they run a whole lot.
Mm-hmm.
And when they run things, they
Things
get things
done.
done. Yeah, things get done. And it's our time. And what better way to acknowledge, all these great women that are around and doing things that normally just don't get the spotlight on them.
I was in a doctor's appointment on Monday and they had all these women flashing on the screen, just talking about all the wonderful things. And all
Nice.
I could do was smile. Like, I
Yes.
know of all these women and I
Yes.
know of a lot more,
Yes.
but us, ourselves, when
Mhm.
I read your bio, which was very detailed,
I told you, Anthony wrote it. He's the writer. I was like, honey, I don't have a bio.
I didn't realize how many people you touched, how many
Um,
campaigns you were a part of, how
oh,
many support groups. But I do understand the process you have to go through just to hear some of these. Sometimes it brings you back.
mhm,
You
mhm.
have those moments where it brings you back, but you remember that you don't want anyone to go through this alone.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And with the pandemic, cancer is not stopping.
Yeah.
It's still here.
Yeah.
But I'm so happy to hear that your support groups are well attended.
Yep.
They are
I've
well
even,
attended.
during the pandemic, women were still being diagnosed with breast cancer at the same
Hmm.
rate. We have our MDC clinic every Wednesday, and that's where all of our newly diagnosed breast cancer patients come in. And on a regular, it is 6 to 8 patients a week. Now, since the pandemic, it's gone down, maybe 4 to 6, average a solid 6, just to say average solid 6 every single week, just from this area. Do the math
Really?
on that. So these women are still being diagnosed, and um, sometimes they will have called ahead, and I will have caught them on the phone, or they've caught me, and I end up in the room with them, and like Dr. Gudina will be like, "Oh, Jill, how do you know this person?" I'm like, "I don't. We just met on the phone." But I do have people that I do know, that say, "Jill, I'm going in," and I always say, I know you can't be in there with anybody, but here are some choices you have. You can FaceTime anybody that
Hmm.
you want to bring, if you want to bring your husband in or somebody. And I'm also there. I'm also available if you want me to go in. And I've gone in with a couple of friends as well, just during the pandemic. So,
During
and
the
by the way, both of those have cases came out a lot better than expected. So praise God on that.
Oh, that is
Mhm.
amazing. Yeah, I've had one of my friends where I was like, you need to FaceTime me when you get there, or you
Mhm.
need to call me when you get there. And
Mhm.
I've been in the room also when they received the news and not so good news. And
Yeah.
it's important to have that person there. And I think that's one of my missions, because I will always say the glow doesn't define me, I define the glow, because this glow tried to take me out of here.
That's right.
And I'm defining what it looks like now. And I'm so happy that I am defining my glow.
Mhm.
And I'm so happy that you are doing the same in your community and around the country. Let's
Mhm.
not just say right there, you're doing it around the country as well. So, what are some things that you would tell women about doing their self breast exams? When to do it, how to do it, what's the best time to do it? What do you find?
It's right around the best time to do it is right. I think it's right after your period,
Hmm.
and in the shower or laying down position, uh, monthly. And now, whereas I don't get a period anymore because of the chemotherapy I was on, it put me
Hmm.
into turbo menopause. That was back in 2009. Um, but you feel your body changing. You know when your body's going through something. So I make sure I check, and every once in a while I'll get a little twinge, and I'm like, what is that? I'm doing like, okay, what is it? Checking every,
Every lymph node, right?
every lymph node. Yes, and but yeah, it's so important. I mean, there are times, there are different studies and all that come out, but let me tell you something I do regularly. When I see women putting their phone in their bra or in their shirt, and I don't ever know them. I just a couple weeks ago in the mall, had to get some stuff embroidered, and I saw this young woman, and I walked up to her. I said, "I work at the cancer center, and I want you to do your own research on it, but I don't believe that it is safe for you to have your phone just stored on your breast like that.
Hmm.
I said, but I'm not going to say that you'll get breast cancer from it or you won't, but just do some research on that.
Hmm.
Just do
What
some research on that.
when you're diagnosed, they give you a list of things you shouldn't put on. Yeah, put on.
Hmm.
Like I'm like, don't use that deodorant.
Hmm.
I can't use this lotion. I
Mm-hmm.
shouldn't be eating this,
Mm-hmm.
my intake of soy, all these things.
Yeah.
But I'm not learning those things before I'm getting
Right.
diagnosed with breast cancer.
Yeah.
And I was about to say a death sentence because at the very beginning, that's what I thought it was.
Right. That's exactly what you feel. Yeah.
Yes, 36 being diagnosed, and I didn't feel alone. I
Mm-hmm.
went, everybody, the people who know me know my story. I went because, and then all of a sudden I had cancer.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it was all of a sudden because I didn't wait till I was 40 to do
Yeah.
my mammogram.
Yeah. Yeah.
So read up, know what you're putting in your body, know what you're putting on your skin, because
Mm-hmm.
this is a layer effect. And they have all of this research out there, and it's so important.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And, again, I didn't wait. It was because of this lady right here, Jeanette Gregory, who said that is great advice about your cell phone.
Mm-hmm.
She's the reason why I went and I got a mammogram. I went for a
Oh,
mammogram
wow.
because I heard somebody else. So you don't know if you're walking up to someone saying these things, how it affects them. I will tell you to keep doing that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I had one young girl to tell me she just said, "Wow, my grandmother had breast cancer." And I mean, our conversation was all of 15 seconds. And
Wow.
she was like, "Wow, my grandmother had breast cancer." So it rang, kind of rang a little bell in her to say, maybe I do need to take caution on certain things. And I mean, and my thing is, I don't know any and everything. So
Mm-hmm.
I do know a few things that I can recommend, but I always try and preface it with, do your own research. But this is what I've learned,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Being behind the scenes is very different too. When you work at a doctor's office, you go to the tumor boards, which I've been a part of, and you
Mhm,
just see how they work. Like you
mhm,
said, they're working on the medical side. So
mhm,
here I am working on the resource side, trying to
mhm,
make sure that the patients have what they need on the resource side, from simple things like meditation.
mhm.
When I say meditation, I'm talking about simple yoga, stretches. I didn't realize that all that stuff, we joke about it on the podcast. I was one of those that was at yoga, and you were one of those that was like, how the heck did you get to go to yoga going through treatment?
Yeah, the girl next to me was like, "Oh, I'm getting up. I'm gonna go to yoga," and I'm like, they're wheeling me out in a wheelchair, and I'm like, "Oh, why?" Oh. But I mean, that's one of the things about cancer is that it affects everybody differently. Depends on the chemicals in your body.
Mm-hmm.
There's no guarantee that this is going to happen or it's going to happen this way. These are possibilities.
Mm-hmm.
It happened this way for me. But I mean, I was just amazed to see them. I mean, I was a little annoyed too, because they was a little too happy. I'm like, we have cancer, you guys. Like, we have cancer. Why are you guys so happy? But in the end, I learned that I should have been happy too. And it did. It was an emotional battle for me.
Mm-hmm.
And but once I realized, that light bulb went off, and it was like, God gave me life. Like, this is in my story. When I tell my story, I say, breast cancer was a gift for me because God was preparing me to do the work that I'll be doing. I had no
Mm-hmm.
idea what type of work I would be doing. The kids didn't need me anymore. They were driving themselves to school, and
Mm-hmm.
they don't need me to take them to practice or scouts or whatever. And so it was time for me to start finding my own thing, because I'd been home with them since they were born. And so God was just preparing me. He said, I need you to go through this so that you can have that empathy and that real understanding of what it is like to go through. So when you meet breast cancer patients, because this is where I'm going to have you, when you
Mm-hmm.
meet breast cancer patients, you can earnestly say that this is what it was like for me. I know what you're feeling. Because
Mm-hmm.
even though all of our reactions and treatment plans and everything may be different, the one thing that every single one of us have in common, the one thing is, a doctor said to us, "You have breast
Have
cancer."
cancer. Yes, that's the one thing that
And
we all have in common. As
yep,
much as I don't want to have this in common with you,
yep,
I do.
yeah,
And I'm thankful that I'm able to support other women as they go through. And you
mhm,
also talked on the podcast that it also prepared you for a horrific car accident that you were in. And I am so happy that you
Hmm.
are still with us.
Thank you. I'm happy.
I'm so happy because I remember when you posted those pictures. Tell us just a little bit about that and how your walk at that time was so helpful
um,
when that happened.
when I had my accident,
Yeah.
I was actually in school. I was at A&T taking some courses, and really struggling. I mean, I was really, really struggling. Math. I was just, going back to school, at 50 years old,
Mm-hmm.
actually 52 years old, and chemo brain, it just didn't mesh well. I had a really serious, serious car accident in January of 2018 where I T-boned a car. I was driving about 65 miles an hour, and both our vehicles rolled down an embankment. My car rolled at least 3 times and landed on the passenger side. Um, and I had some serious injuries. I broke my um, hip in pelvic in 3 different places. I broke my hip, my pelvic, my coccyx. I demolished my right ankle. I had surgery on it, on both sides of my ankle. They have, a bar in it. I fractured a couple of ribs and a couple of fingers. But I mean, I was so glad to be alive after that. I mean, like and I always tell people this story about when they, it's just like on TV, when they bring you in from the ambulance and,
Mm-hmm.
everybody's rushing around you and everybody's got their job. And then there's this gorgeous doctor. He's like holding your head, looking at, he's like, now what I'm going to do. And you're like, what are you going to do? And you're like on drugs because they've, shot you up with morphine because, the leg is like this, broke, So, um, but I was so happy to be alive. And let
Mm-hmm.
me tell you, my neighbors from up here, and this happened, I was in Duke Trauma. They had taken me to Duke Trauma. My neighbors from here were there in a matter of an hour.
Wow.
One of them beat me to the hospital. It could because I called one neighbor, and I had two people I was going to call. I knew not to call Anthony because I knew he was in church, and he was in Boston with our daughter, who was
Mm-hmm.
just moving to an apartment. He was helping her unpack. She was starting her new job that next day.
Mm.
I mean, it was just, I felt so bad for them because they were so far away. But I had two friends I was going to call, and I had the in the right state of mind to say, think about, well, if I call this friend, she's got to get on this highway. If I call that friend, she's got to get on this highway. So I called the one who could get here the quickest. And
Mm-hmm.
my neighbor across the street, and her husband and daughter were there like this. My other neighbors were there. But what ended up happening in the end was I was like, you know what? I'm not going to do any major career changes or anything. Why am I killing myself to go
Yeah.
to school to get this degree and it was just for personal satisfaction.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I didn't go back. And I still, even here lately, I've been having a little nagging on that.
Mm-hmm.
But at that point, I was like, life's too short to torture myself. And I literally was torturing myself with the math.
Yeah.
I mean, I was literally torturing. Anthony will tell you, I would sit there for hours and I would cry. I would try
Mm-hmm.
and do it again and cry some more and just, and, I had a lot of people trying to help me, but I just could not retain it. I just could
Yeah.
not. So I was like, but yeah, the car accident had a huge effect on me. And it also, um, really pointed out my community, my village. My village was so crucial in that,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, they were just there for me. They were just there for me. They were just there for me.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing? You only been there for 6 months, right?
Hmm.
6 months you were only there. You were diagnosed with cancer. You hadn't even started your job. Your husband started a new job. Your kids were in a new place, new school, in the community, and the support that you guys gained through that. And they came back through. They never left. They came
No,
back through
no,
when you were
no.
in
We're
that
very
car
close.
accident. And they're still there because you guys have started the neighborhood church. Let's
Because of
talk
our
about
neighbors.
that before we end this live. We have to talk about the neighborhood church. Tell
Mhm.
me how that came about.
Well, the pandemic started, and everybody knows everybody. We all know what we all do, and one of them said, "Anthony, why don't you just do a service in the yard? Do it in the driveway." And we were all like, well. So I think the first one, it was in March. It was chilly. We were all
Mhm.
cold, but we sat with our families. We all sat in our little, and I mean, we had several families. A few Sundays, we had people coming in their cars from other
Wow.
communities to, just park on our street, and watch the service. And then it started getting hot because we were doing it every Sunday. We were
Yeah.
doing it every Sunday. And then it got hot. It was like just way too hot to be outside because you 11 o'clock service. By noon you got the sun right above you.
Yes. Yes.
So we moved it inside and decided to do it on Zoom because Zoom was starting to pop up, and um, so that it just transformed into the Zoom neighborhood church. And we have a regular following every Sunday. We average about 30
Hmm.
people every Sunday. It's he's we have the live Zoom link, and then he's on Facebook Live, so that you
Okay.
can catch the service on Facebook at 10 o'clock. I'm sorry, at 11 o'clock every Sunday morning. And
And what's
we
the
had
link?
about um I don't know. Sorry, I don't know. I'm sorry. It's just on Facebook.
It's on
But
Facebook, right?
yeah,
You should find us.
if you follow my husband Anthony Berry,
There you go. He
yeah,
was on
yeah,
our past lives and podcasts. So yeah, if you follow, it's the neighborhood church, though, right?
yeah, it's the neighborhood church.
And it's on Facebook, and you're located in the what area? So if they see it, they know it's in Greensboro
Yeah,
or
we're in Greensboro, North Carolina. Yeah, yeah.
Greensboro. So that's how you find it. And we'll
Hmm.
definitely put it on
Hmm.
our link below too as
Hmm.
well. And what Anthony M. Berry
Oh, I'm sorry, Anthony M. Berry on Facebook.
on Facebook that way. And I have watched a couple of your services
Hmm.
because I had to get to know this wonderful man that you were talking about. And it's, you guys are doing really big things in your community. Is there anything that you would like to close the show out when we're talking to women, talking to the community, just about what's going on right now?
Well, first I want to say, Regina, what you are doing in the community is a perfect example of celebrating women. The podcast yourself that you created,
Mhm.
the fact that you are highlighting women for this month. Um, I applaud you. I think that's been. I'm so proud to see you doing all this. This has been amazing. And I've come to. You've been doing this for a few years, and I've popped on a couple of times.
Yeah.
So I've seen it grow. I think, and there's my daughter. um,
I told you she's on it.
she don't play. But yeah, I just think it's a great time to be doing what we're doing. Um, I just hope that it just keeps on developing, and we just get better at what we're doing, and then we can pass it on to those coming behind us and beside us, and that it just, because I mean, the thing is, breast cancer is not going to end tomorrow. It's not going to end tomorrow. And, still research needs to be done. There is a lot of people don't realize that there are 100 different, and there's probably more at this point,
Mm-hmm.
100 different types of breast cancer.
Yes.
So, each one of those has to be researched. I was blessed to be with HER2 positive, which has um, a great drug that works very well with it, the Herceptin.
That's
Um,
me. Yeah.
yeah, so yeah, but now that like triple negative is the hot number right now that they're doing some research on because it's got a high mortality rate, and that these different walks, we talk about how fun they are and everything, but they
Yeah.
are so crucial to raising
Raising.
funds uh, for research. And a lot of everybody finds something to latch onto.
Mm-hmm.
So just try and support. let's try and support each other in our
Yes.
different causes. I have a friend, Patrick, who rides bikes. He does marathons for all different, just whatever. And I don't care what he's doing. I said, if it's $10, I'm going to donate to it, because
Yeah.
you everything you do is to help for research for something that
Yes.
doesn't even relate to you. Like none of these, with the exception of, one of them, I think AIDS, his brother
Mm-hmm.
passed away from. But I mean, I think we have to keep supporting each other, keep supporting these organizations. They are so important, because you never know when that's going to be that ball is going to be in your court.
Exactly. And this is one of the biggest things that is coming up April
Mm,
10th
mm,
for the Sisters Network. They always have Stop the Silence, because in our community, guess what? We don't talk about it, right?
no,
There's
no, it's
so
getting
many
better.
women who walk around with the guilt of having cancer.
Hmm.
So this is one of their fundraising efforts that they do. Stop the Silence. Definitely check that out. If
Hmm.
you're in any of the areas where the Sister Network is, just look on their website. You can find them. They're doing great things.
Yep.
American Cancer Society, making strides against breast cancer. We should all support. I'm hoping to have someone up here because we'll be talking about sickle cell. Because how are you defining your glow? Did you know that the women or men who are going through sickle cell go through the cancer hospital for treatment?
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
had no idea.
Yeah. Yeah. A young lady
So
from my church. Yeah.
yeah, so just those different things. Let's support each other, guys.
Yeah.
But Jill, I am so glad that after almost
10
2
years.
years of talking to you on Chemo Glow, because people don't know I was trying to do this back in 2013.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm finally talking to you, and you was one of our first guests that popped on when we
Mm-hmm.
were doing the Let's Chat. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why I just named it Let's Chat, because you
Mm-hmm.
jumped on our first Let's Chat, and we
I remember that.
experiment with you coming on.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Yeah.
want to thank you so much, Jill, for joining us today. I'm looking forward to working with you in the future. I'm hoping that one day we can say that cancer doesn't exist and all.
Yeah. 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 If they can eradicate polio, we can do it with cancer.
We can make it happen.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We're doing vaccines right now.
Yeah.
We can make it happen. So, guys, make sure that you join some of these organizations, volunteer, and fundraise.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us tonight. Next week, Terry Robinson will be joining us. And we just talked about triple negative breast cancer. And she's going to be talking about her walk with triple negative breast cancer. Please join Chemo Glow with the American Cancer Society. We're making strides against breast cancer. And we'll be on next week at 8 p.m. Just remember, guys, I say it all the time, that the glow doesn't define me. I define the glow. Thank you for joining us tonight. Can't wait to see you next week at 8 o'clock. Peace.